I am so grateful that you are here today talking about this because, I think we are, now that you mentioned that some are staying closed for longer now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're heading into, I think, a whole different, phase of this stay at home, and
Yeah,
having kids at home and not going back to school, it's a whole phase for them as well,
for sure.
and worrying about everybody's mental health.
Yeah. And so
So,
the way that we talk to ourselves now has to change because in the beginning, I know I was thinking, all right, this is 2 weeks. I got this. Like I can get my clients online. I can set my son up with some resources, give him a schedule. We can do this. We can make this work. And now I had to change that to, okay, we're going to need to dial back my ambitious ideas about what I wanted to do for helping him with school. And I'm not going to be able to help him out as much as I would like. And I'm going to have to change how I schedule my clients because this is long term now. This is no longer a short term stress. So it's like we're not just doing the sprint, we're more in the marathon training.
right, right.
Yeah. So, Michelle, have you had can you think of anything in terms of how you've been thinking about it that you could switch from like the short term to the long term?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because uh, when we very first went into lockdown, I talked to a homeschool mom to kind of give us tips. And one of the things she said was, give yourself a break. Don't be perfect. Just know it's going to flow, and that your kids figure out how they learn, figure out what time's best for them to learn, and, just work things, just let things work. Don't be so into being perfectionist.
Yep.
And I think today, believe it or not, so we've been doing it for about 3-4 weeks. Today was a really good day for homeschooling, like home learning. I now have a notebook where I write all the assignments out, and I put a little box next to each one, and so my daughter can mark them off. And so it's like a little reward. But it's
Yeah.
taken all this time to figure out what worked, because in the beginning she was crying, there were
Yeah.
tears, there was hiding, just it was just not working. But we're slowly trying to figure out, okay, this kind of reward system is working. So, and we're all accepting that. But I can tell you, my kids really miss their friends, and they really
Mhm.
miss actually physically going to school.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're talking about is so important because you're talking about like just figuring out the next thing. Like you're not talking about having to plan out their entire rest of the school year and figure that out. It's just the next thing, right? How do we make this assignment? How do we make this reward tangible? How do we make this happen? When we can break things down and just focus on the next thing. Like I was feeling overwhelmed just before this call, and I was like, how am I going to get dinner started? How are we going to do all this? And so I was like, I'm making salmon patties tonight. I have a great recipe, which I can share if anyone wants that.
Oh, well, you know
Um,
me, I don't cook, so I'll take any recipes.
this is like salmon in a can, sweet potato, mix it up. It's so yummy. But I was like, you know what? Before the call, just going to open the cans of salmon. I'm just going to do that much. Like that's going to be a win. So when we can break things down, we feel much better because we feel like your daughter, we can check something off the list. We've accomplished something. And then that shifts the way we see the rest of the task. We have a piece of it that we've done, and the rest of it feels more doable.
Right, right. And it's
Yeah.
nice having little wins,
Yeah.
just and celebrating that, and be happy with that, and not expect, everything, the huge wins,
Yeah.
just one step at a time. Because like you said, we're now in a marathon, so it's literally putting one foot in front of the other.
Yep.
It's shifting that mindset.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, the last time we were on, you were talking about best, which I
Yeah.
thought was really helpful too. Do you
Yep.
mind talking about that again?
Sure. I'll go through this with the caveat that during this stressful time, it might not be the easiest time to adopt a ton of new healthy self-care behaviors. So as I talk about some of the very specific concrete things you can do, I want you to focus on just thinking about one thing. So one thing that you can do, one thing that resonates with you, not one thing that your neighbor's doing that you see that's working for them or your Facebook friends are posting, but one thing that resonates for you, and then start implementing that and attaching it to what you just mentioned, Michelle, which is how you feel. Because we know from the habit change literature that when we go to create habits to start new self-care behaviors, when we can start small and when we can tie those to a feeling, like feeling excited about our accomplishment, we're more likely to continue that and to be able to build on that. So you're doing it and you didn't even know. Okay. I know you want me to get to the best. So we're going to go through a few of these things. So the first is breathing. Yes, we're all doing it every day right now. We get that. But we know that taking deep breaths, just 6 deep breaths, and that's allowing your belly to inflate when you take a breath in and then to deflate as you take a breath out, which is contrary to how a lot of us breathe and how as women we're taught to just hold in our bellies all the time. So there's no belly breathing going on there. So when we can do that, that switches us from the stress response, which is the sympathetic nervous system, to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest response. We can't be in both of those at the same time. Physiologically, it just doesn't work. So if we're not in a stress response, we're in a relaxation response. And when we're in the relaxation response, our body is producing different neurochemicals than it's producing in the stress response. When we're in the relax response, we're producing chemicals that tell our body it's safe. You can digest your food. You can procreate if that's something that's on your mind. You can see things that you weren't seeing before. You can have access to your prefrontal cortex, our thinking mind, that we lose when we're in the stress response. So I gave you that little bit of background to tell you just how powerful breathing can be. We often discount it because it's like, yeah, it's just taking a few deep breaths. That's not really going to help me. But when we can do the deep breaths when we're not in a super stressful situation. So if you're practicing those, Michelle, when you're not trying to help your daughter through a meltdown, if you're practicing those on your own, when you're proactively in your closet taking some breaths,
Yes.
or you're going for your walks in the morning or taking some deep breaths, you are becoming more familiar with that. Your body's getting used to it. And it's going to be able to remember and access that deep breathing when you are in those stressful times.
Well, it's also sometimes you accidentally hold your breath and don't even realize it.
Totally.
So that's key.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize too that even if we're not feeling particularly stressed, there is a collective stress that's going on just from looking at the news, even if you are limiting your news, which I hope you all are doing. But even just seeing panic on people's faces or seeing
Right.
face masks is something new. Our
Yeah.
brain is not used to that, and that sends like an alarm signal. So even if you're not feeling particularly stressed in your situation, the collective stress can be accumulating as well. Yeah.
Right. Right. No, that's true. And the next one I really like is eating what we're
Yeah.
eating,
Yeah.
because if we're eating too much sugar, that's also not going to be great for us, which there's
Right.
a lot of sugar in wine, I know, which is a bummer. It's always good to
Yeah.
have one glass,
Yeah.
but it's really difficult to have too much sugar. It just throws us out of whack. So it is really
Totally
important
is.
how we're eating.
Yeah. And I think that the tricky thing is when we're in times of stress, we're programmed to eat foods that we can access quickly. So foods we can get to quickly and foods that we can digest and metabolize. Because when we're in the stress response, we're naturally designed to be able to fight, to flee, or to freeze. So we need the energy to fight or to flee. So even though the stress is not like a saber-toothed tiger of the past, our body still interprets it that way. So we crave things like sugar, which is a super fast fuel source. And we crave things like chocolate, not only because it has magnesium and other minerals that help us to naturally calm down, and because it boosts the serotonin and dopamine that we're producing, which are feel-good hormones. And we learn that those things become associated. When we have some dark chocolate, when we have a glass of wine, we feel better. So neurochemically, it's making us feel better. And then from a behavioral perspective, we're feeling better too. So the next time we want to create that feeling of calm and relaxation, what do you think we're going to reach for? We're going to
Right.
reach for what worked last time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's reasons why we're craving more of these foods, even though there are a lot of like challenges and a lot of awesome things about really using this time to be healthy. Know that if you're craving sugar more than you actually usually are, there's a reason for that, for
Well,
sure.
that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. But there are things we can do. We don't have to say like, okay, forget it. I'm just wearing sweatpants for the next 3 months. Um, we can focus on getting more whole foods in our diet, and especially getting protein regularly throughout the day, because that's going to stabilize our blood sugar. And when we stabilize our blood sugar, our mood is also going to be more stable. When we have blood sugar that goes like this, we have anxiety and fatigue and irritability that goes like this too.
Yes,
It all
that's
comes
true. Hmm.
together. So when we can eat whole foods, which are foods that aren't in a package, and I know this can be challenging too because a lot of those aren't available, or you're waiting for Instacart deliveries like for 2 weeks or something
Right,
crazy.
right. I know. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy right now.
Yeah. So I'm encouraging people to focus on frozen stuff that might be easier to get, and really just to do the best that you can in this time, knowing that back to those little changes, everything that you can do, every good thing that you can do, is going to move you further along and closer to your goal of feeling better, and not only just making it through this time, but being in this time and being present and engaged, because it's, again, it is the marathon.
Right. Well, and that leads us to the S, which is the sleep. So
Yeah.
what's interesting is I'm doing the intermittent fasting now. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm really excited. I decided sort of that was my one little thing to change during this um, um, quarantine, and I didn't, because I knew I would just be eating all the time.
Yeah,
I'd be
I hear you.
snacking, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I had to start small. The first day I tried to start out with the 16 hours, but that just didn't work. So I went back and I was just doing 12. And when you do that with the sleeping, it's not as bad.
Hmm.
It's not as it's more doable. But now I am up to the 16, 17, 18 hours some days. But I noticed, because I stopped eating at 8 o'clock, I've had much better sleep. And sleep
Yay.
is really important, right? I
Sleep
mean,
is so important. Yeah. So if we're thinking about mood or weight loss, we can eat all the mood boosting foods or all the salmon and kale, but unless we're sleeping, we're not going to get the benefits of our healthy lifestyle. Sleep sets our circadian rhythm. It helps to regulate our endocrine system. It's involved in our stress response, and it just makes us feel so much better when we're getting good quality sleep. So, something you may not know is that if you are getting to bed later than like 10:30, you're more likely to have cortisol, that stress hormone, come in and give you a kick. And that feels like you're getting a second wind. Has that ever happened to you,
right.
Michelle?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And so then you feel like, oh, I'm not tired. I can keep going. And then that can set you up for not getting enough sleep, or for sleeping in later, or for napping the next day, all of those things, which can be really detrimental to your sleep cycle. So the first tip is, as much as you can, try to be in bed and asleep by like 10:30. And then if you're getting a good 7 to 8 hours from there, that's putting you between like 6 and 7 in the morning for your wake up time. Um, we haven't had electricity for all that long in the history of civilization. So, what we know is that we're designed to kind of go to bed when the sun goes down and to get up when the sun goes up. And that's not just because we couldn't do anything else at that time, but it really helps to set our circadian rhythm. So if you're getting some decent sleep, or even if you're not, it's important to have a standard bedtime and a standard wake time, especially during this time. I have so many clients whose schedules are variable and thrown off now, and they've just kind of let any schedule, any routine go out the window. And that's really hampered their sleep too. So even if your sleep cycle isn't the same as it was pre-COVID, having a routine bedtime and a routine wake up time can be really useful. Your body knows what to expect. It knows when to start producing melatonin at night to get you ready for sleep. It knows when to produce healthy cortisol in the morning to wake you up. So as predictable as you can make your schedule, the better things will be. And along with that,
Routine. I
yeah,
think routine, 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 routine.
yeah, for us and our kids too, right? Like
Yes. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then when we wake up, if we can get morning light, that's going to further stimulate us to be awake, which will set the circadian rhythm so we'll be ready to go to sleep again at that same time at night. So even if it's just opening your blinds or your curtains in your bedroom or your living room when you first get up. If you can go outside early, like bonus points, that's amazing to be in nature.
Yes. And it's funny because we have kind of crazy weather here in Maryland, but when it is sunny, I think it's so important to get outside and get that vitamin D, and it just lifts your spirits. It just feels so great. It's
For
just so
sure.
nice.
For sure.
So yeah,
So
which leads us, oh yeah.
one other thing about sleep. So we are often hooked to our devices for news, for updating our kids' assignments, for figuring out our own work assignments. Maybe we're tuned into that for that. But we also know that devices emit blue light, and blue light blocks the production of melatonin. Melatonin is what makes us sleepy. We want melatonin at night. So if we're on our devices without a blue light blocking filter on our device or blue light blocking glasses, which there are some very cute versions of now, um, we are going to have more problems falling asleep. So I recommend stopping device use about 2 hours before bed, if possible. If you absolutely need to be working or doing something later than that, to do that with the blue light blockers and to not be in your bedroom. We just want your bedroom to be associated with sleep, not with working.
Okay. Do you seriously do that? Do you do
Um,
that? You
so
like put your phone away?
I do like at least an hour before bed. I
Okay.
try to just read a book. Like I'm still like old school books. But when I don't do that, I do have the blue light filter
Oh,
on
okay.
my phone. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. That's awesome. You practice what you preach. That's awesome.
It does. Yeah. I'm not perfect by any means, but I
No,
really
that's great.
feel better. If I don't get good sleep, it's not pretty.
Yeah, no, I know. It's hard. It's really, it
Yeah.
just throws your mood off. The day drags.
Yeah.
No, it definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
And then T is,
T is thoughts and talking to ourselves. And so I mentioned that a little bit in the beginning because I think that when we think about self care, we can think about all the things to do, like, oh, I need to meditate or I need to do yoga or work out. And all of those things are awesome. Yes, do them, do them, do them. But with 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day, if we're not paying attention to and cleaning up our thoughts and making our thoughts a bit more realistic and a bit positive, again, all those things that we are doing are going to be way less effective because we're telling ourselves negative things most likely with those 60 to 90,000 thoughts throughout the day. And so it's not going to be a switch that we can flip overnight, but just starting to tune into what you're saying to yourself, or if you end up like feeling irritable or sad and can't really figure out why, to ask yourself, okay, what was I thinking just before this happened? And then to ask yourself, once you identify the thought, to ask yourself, is that really true? And then is that thought helping me? And would I say that thought to a friend? So even if your brain is like, oh, that's so true, you're not good enough to do X, Y, Z, and you think like, um, what was the second part?
no, no.
So is it true? Is it true?
Right.
And is it helping me? No, it's not helping you. But
Right.
even if you're like, yes, that's helping me because it's helping me to move forward when I'm critical of myself. Even if you think that, you wouldn't say that to a friend. So it
Right.
wouldn't make it through that third filter. So is it true? Is it helping me when I say it to a friend? Those are ways to check in on the reality of your thoughts. And if it's not true, if you wouldn't say it to a friend and it's not helping you, then that's time to start reprogramming it by changing it to something that's more realistic. Like maybe I haven't done that in the past, but I can try a new way now.
Right. And self-talk is so important. I mean, it's everything, because it's how you feel, how you
Yep.
act. It just, yeah. And so it's important, I think, to control your thoughts and not
Yep.
just let them get away with you, because it's so easy to think negatively. It's just the
Yes.
negative thoughts are so easy to come in, and it's a bit, tricky. And it takes, I think, effort
It
to
does.
reprogram yourself and
Yeah.
rewire that process. But
And we
that's
haven't.
something we can do.
Yeah,
It's
and
doable.
we have a negativity bias, which means we're more likely to remember the negative things. And again, this goes back to evolutionary times. We needed to know the negative things. So we're more likely to remember those than we are the positive things.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh
I
my gosh,
know.
this has been so great and helpful. I love
Good.
it. I mean, oops, Daisy, sorry about that. But it has. It's been just really helpful, Kelly. I mean,
Good.
really wonderful to have you here and doing this. And I really appreciate it. And I know all the ladies out there will appreciate it too, listening to this.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's always fun to talk to you.
And good luck with, with this quarantine and homeschooling for you, and juggling everything you're juggling as well.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you and this community is here for each other to share humor. I love the funny stuff that you guys post because that's a huge coping mechanism too.
Yes, definitely. And
Yeah.
I hope that people can continue to talk about, their struggles too, because we're
Yeah.
all here to support everybody.
Yeah.
And we know that it's not easy, that we're in this together. And, even when we slowly start to have things, quote unquote, go back to normal, it's going to be stages,
Yeah.
and it's going to take, it's going to take a while. So we're all here for each other. We can help each other through this. So, well, have a great rest of your Friday. And thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. You guys too. Bye bye.